name's Hayden Klingler, and I decided to do my research paper on the dangers of blind faith and self-deception. Just wanted to go before we started and say I do have my shoes on. It's just hard to get, my dress shoes, it's just hard to get the right angle here in this room. The texts I chose for this were The Lottery by Shirley Jackson and A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor. The reason I chose these texts were throughout the course, there was a couple that, they were okay and they built suspension and stuff, but they just didn't speak to me. It's kind of corny, but speak to me in the way that these texts did. When I was first reading The Lottery, it was intriguing the way the suspension was building up over time. Reading it, I almost felt like a hero was going to come out and save the day and stop everything. And as I was reading and getting deeper in, I realized that it just wasn't going to happen. But there was still a slight chance. It was still there. And then that final line was delivered, and they were upon her. And that's when you just knew it was over. That was it. I just really appreciated that line. I felt it was a good way to end the story. So, A Good Man is Hard to Find. I chose that text because it was one of the ones we read earlier. I appreciated the story. I thought it was good. I thought it also fit very well with the ideas of blind faith and self-deception. The grandmother was deceiving herself into believing she was better than everybody else, and it ultimately led to costing her and her family their lives. Her believing that she could decide who a good man was and wasn't was one of the main things that I believe caused this, and I just felt it fit very well with the lottery's themes and stuff as well. So my thesis is, although faith and trust in society can be a good thing, blind faith, self-deception, and denial can lead people to a point at which there's no coming back from. One should check themselves before it is too late. So going back to the lottery, these villagers are committed to a ritual every year of stoning one of their own members because of this blind faith and tradition. They don't know why they do what they're doing, but they continue to do it because the person before them and the person before them did it. Other than that, they have no clue. The only kind of backing they have behind it is Old Man Warner saying that if they continue with the ritual, the next crop season will be good. But there's no proof behind that. It's just a saying. When trying to stop this, no one really ever does, but it's mentioned that in the next village over that they're talking about giving up the lottery. You have people who have done this for their whole lives that are continuously backing it almost constantly. Like, there's no doubt in their mind. Old Man Warner calls them a crazy pack of fools. It's instantly shut down when anybody tries to adjust and make sure that this blind tradition is adapted to what it should be in the new ways of life. While on the topic of outdatedness of a tradition or a belief, the grandmother from A Good Man is Hard to Find is a perfect example of this. She constantly is putting herself higher because she is older and she believes in the old way of the South. Though she is very hypocritical throughout the story and isn't as morally superior as she claims to be. She does things like lie to her family about knowing where she is, which eventually leads them down a road to death. She sneaks her cat onto a family trip, which causes the accident, leaving them stranded for the misfit to find them. The main thing is, when faced with sudden death, with doom impending, the grandmother uses her moral superiority to try to talk the misfit, a complete psychopath, out of murder. Her claim is she could tell who a good man is and isn't because of the way she was raised and because she believes she's morally superior. This claim is what gets them killed. She's trying to talk someone who's mentally insane out of murder just by telling him that she knows she is a good man because of the way he looks and presents himself or talks. Because seems to be someone raised in the Old South, and that's what she believes makes a good person what it is. In conclusion, faith and tradition, when used in a positive way, being constantly checked and reevaluated to make sure it fits the current times, can be a good thing. In other times, like these two stories and examples, it could be a bad thing. The lottery being a murder ritual that is followed through with and never changed, or the grandmother's belief in an old value system of the South that just doesn't fit what modern day is anymore. Either way, when used properly, it can be good. In these two stories, it is a far drastic example of being used in a negative way that leads people to impending doom. So, in order to stop yourself from becoming these people or believing in a blind faith, you should check yourself before it is too late, as it was for the grandmother and her family, and as it was for Miss Hutchinson, who was murdered by her own people for a tradition that was made years and years ago that she knows no reason why it continues.